Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Saturday, March the 16th, 2019, 5:09 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So, Cam's pulled a fast one on us again today. I don't know why they like to do that on the weekend as well as during the week. Yesterday I showed new data from Saturday, last Saturday the 9th, and then this morning I logged into Cam's and that day was gone, and there was Sunday the 10th up, and then I logged on to record the show, and now Sunday's gone and Monday, March 11th is up. So we don't know what happened on Sunday with methane. So we'll just show what we can. So here's where Sunday would have ended then with methane. I've got the Arctic view pulled up at surface level. And we've got a large release still coming out of the Kara Sea and then out of Siberia and the Yamal Peninsula. And then we've got not as dark a release still coming out of the Chukchi and Laptev Seas and moving across. And here's a release up by Svalbard. Also, here's a release in Canada that we don't normally see. But anyway, I've got this movie loaded up so we can see what methane is doing. It looked like it had calmed down a little bit when I did the show yesterday, but now these releases are building. It releases and then it builds, releases and builds, and the sun is up on almost all of the Arctic region now. We're going to look at NASA Worldview in a second too. They do have data up on NASA Worldview for the Arctic and the Antarctic for today, but yesterday and the day before are missing for the Antarctic and the Arctic. So for whatever reason. So in the forecast period, we're seeing large releases still coming up to the east of Novaya Zemlya. It just seems to be an ongoing pattern here. I don't know what it's going to be like once it really starts warming up there. You know, if it's like this right now, I just don't have any idea what it's going to look like this summer when it really starts heating up. So I just don't know. And then I've got the North Pole view pulled up so that we can see the northern hemisphere. We can see high methane releases in the US where they've gotten all of that moisture. And yes, it is from moisture, it's from swamps, it's from industrial civilization. Someone asked me in a comment if a swamp or an area that had like melted but didn't soak into the ground and didn't freeze during the winter, would that be producing methane? Absolutely. Absolutely, because if it's not frozen, and even if it is frozen, the microbes can still do stuff, as we're seeing up here in the Arctic. So that's anaerobic activity with the bacteria, and that gives off methane. So you can see in the northeast of the United States high levels of methane, and look at it releasing in the Atlantic Ocean and really spreading out. Also, there's a release. I want to point out Kamchatka Peninsula, which is, oh, right here. I was on the wrong thing. Right here. As it goes into the forecast period, notice the methane release here. This is from the volcanic activity, and we're going to take a peek. Right, did you see that? And watch now on Friday. You see that? There was a large explosion of a volcano there on Kamchatka. Belazimiani, I think that's how you say it, on, well, during the week, but yesterday they had an explosion, or the volcano exploded, and this is the sulfur dioxide that was released from it. This is the Pacific view. Here it is from today, Saturday, and this is Kamchatka, Russia, and here's Alaska and United States, Hawaii, and so forth. And so this volcano had erupted 50,000 feet high up in the sky. So this is the sulfur dioxide and part of that ash plume, and it's moving directly east. And when we run the movie here, barring any further eruptions, they're anticipating this is how that sulfur dioxide cloud will move out and dissipate over the Pacific Ocean and the Aleutian Islands, and then it spreads out over Alaska. And they're showing that it's pretty well dissipated once it hits Canada and the United States. But that was incredible. Very high release. But that's what a volcanic eruption looks like with sulfur dioxide. It's got a definite signature when it's a large eruption like that. It's got a little point, and then it plumes out because it's an eruptive blast. It's not a slow thing like an earthquake where you see an area of red or an area of like a cream color or something like with an earthquake. But when it's explosive like that, it's more of a exclamation point. That's like a sideways exclamation point. So we're going to put that in the background now. And methane is also one of the gases that's released when you have a volcanic eruption. So that's why we were seeing the methane burst there, more than likely. Now we're going to look at NASA Worldview, and I'm going to show you that the cloud. Here is the volcano, and here is, see this gray going straight across? That's the ash cloud going straight across there. This is from today. So, and I've got some articles pulled up on that. This is the Belazimiani volcano. This is off of volcanodiscovery.com. I will leave the link below. This is news and update. This is from today at 3:15 a.m. Belazimiani volcano, volcanic ash advisory. Volcanic ash emissions continuing today, the 16th, at 50,000 feet or 15,200 meters. Explosive activity continues. Volcanic Ash Advisory Center, Tokyo, warned about a volcanic ash plume that rose up to estimated 50,000 feet or 15,200 meters altitude or flight level 500 and is moving at 50 knots in east direction. And here's their full report below. And if you want to read that, I'll leave the link. Here are some more notes on it. And this mountain, this stratovolcano, is 9,455 feet high. It's in central Kamchatka Depression. Here are the coordinates. Current status is erupting, so it's in the red range. And it had been dormant for 1,000 years, and then it started erupting again in 1955. So there's that. I found it on Google Earth too. I always like to find, and these are the Russian volcanoes. I looked at those. We looked at Shiveluch last week when that one was going off, but Bezimiani is this one right down here. And that's looking down at it. So I love this where it starts twirling around and showing all the different angles. So this is the crater. It's kind of like the crater's right up there. It looks like there's another one there. And then this is another part of the crater, but it's like it's a stratocone, stratovolcano, so it goes up in that cone there. It's got snow on it because it's winter time there, and at that high of an altitude, 9,000 and something feet, it's always going to have snow on it. So there's that. Now, I've got a picture from Twitter of the explosion. Here it is in daylight, and it exploded at nighttime. And so that's what it looked like when it exploded. And there are lots of other pictures of it on Twitter. Here's another picture of it. Powerful eruption at Bezimiani volcano. Ash to 15.2 kilometers or 50,000 feet. So this is from, when was this reported? This was from yesterday on the Watchers.news. It erupted at 1729 UTC on March 15th. The aviation code was raised to red earlier in the day and lowered back to orange at 2120 UTC. KVERT raised the aviation color code to red at 11 UTC today, stating that activity of the volcano continues to grow. A mountain of hot avalanches from the lava dome top considerably increased. Ash plumes from avalanches extend for about 100 kilometers or 62 miles to the southeast of the volcano, and the temperature of the thermal anomaly over the volcano began to grow, the observatory said. This activity culminated with a powerful eruption at 1729 UTC with volcanic ash ejected up to 15.2 kilometers or 50,000 feet above sea level. And here's a computer model of their ash cloud. Here's the eruption. And that's what we just saw on Twitter. So we'll be watching that. I haven't seen any earthquakes up there today, but we will definitely be watching that. Let me add this link to my show notes. Now, I've got a few news items, and then we'll do the earthquake report. Oh, before that, I promised to show you some Arctic sea ice. Let me get my news item up here before I forget. Alright, so if we want to look at the Arctic real quick, here it is from today. And if you go back, it was black yesterday, it was black on the 14th, and it was showing on the 13th. So, now I found something interesting here. In the Beaufort Sea on the 13th, I think this is pretty much cloud covered. And I think that's cloud covered where, let's see. No, that's not cloud covered. Okay, so that's not cloud covered, so this was the sea ice in the Beaufort Sea on the 13th, okay? It looked pretty... It looked, I mean, we could see like where it had frozen over and everything. But now, look at this, on the 16th, so I'm thinking something must have happened pretty dramatic in these last 2 days, because when we zoom in, look how this has melted, and look at the ice, how it's broken up and melted, and this is incredible. And I just think something happened. I really just think something major, in a major way, happened up here, and to have caused it to start breaking up and melting so fast. Now we're looking through a thin layer of clouds here, but you can see a large break in the sea ice from a solid edge here at the Mackenzie Bay, and then this is a light, just a light covering of sea ice here. But there's a big break in the ice there, and a big break down here too, and a big break down here. Normally this is not melted this time of year. Normally this is solid. So I think something happened. That's just my opinion. So here's Greenland with the ice down around there. Here's Svalbard. It's ice-free on the southern end, as you can see. Got a little bit of ice around it on the north and eastern side. We're looking through a lot of clouds here. Here's Novaya Zemlya. And it's, you know, it's just hard to decipher through a lot of clouds. Then, so here's where all that methane is coming up and out of this area of Siberia here. Then here is the Laptev Sea, and remember we saw the difference in the edges of the different layers of the sea ice here, where it was much warmer, and so we can still see that demarcation there, and the sea ice is pretty cracked, ready to go when the sun really gets up. It's just now really coming up. But we can see this black circle is getting smaller. So there's that. And we still don't have, let me refresh this and see if we have any more data in the Bering Strait. This is ice, pretty much ice free all the way up through here. So I can't tell how much is ice and how much is not ice right there because it's pretty heavy cloud cover. So there's that. So in case people wanted to see the Arctic, here's the Antarctic from today. We can see the black hole has started here, and the sun will be setting on these on, I think it's March the 20th or 22nd, something like that. The spring equinox for the northern hemisphere is when the sun will be setting in the southern hemisphere. So we'll start seeing this circle getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what we have is the sea ice is starting to come back. We're looking through a bunch of clouds. Here's Pine Island Glacier, and it's hard to see much. Here's the Larsen Sea ice shelf, and here's that big iceberg that broke off, that A68. We're looking at it through clouds, but we can see a big chunk of that has broken off there. And we're seeing the sea ice come back around that, so it looks like A68 will not be going out to the open water this year. Looks like that's going to be held in. And then here's that Brunt ice shelf. So it's still, it doesn't look like it's broken off. Of course, you can't really tell a lot here. You have to go to those other websites and get a good look. It looks like it's breaking there, but it, you know, it's not floating off into the ocean yet. So that's probably good for the next when it goes dark. That'll probably all refreeze. And then here's the Amory ice sheet. There's that with a big cloud over it. And this is the Ross ice shelf down here. It's got a bunch of clouds on it, but we can see that there's some ice that's starting. This is ice underneath the clouds there. It's starting to refreeze down there some, it looks like. So we will leave that. And now we're going to go to news stories, a few news items. And this is from KETV7.com. It has to do with the Cooper nuclear station. I'm following up on that. And this is updated today at 1:32 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Cooper nuclear station still operating despite floodwater. The river levels remain below the threshold for shutdown. Here's a picture of the nuclear station. This is from Brownville, Nebraska. The Missouri River is not at a level that would force the Cooper nuclear station to shut down. A spokesman with the Nebraska Public Power District said. The plant goes offline when levels at the Missouri River hit 45 feet. As of 10:15 a.m. Saturday, the river was at 45.64 feet in Brownville, according to the National Weather Service. NPPD spokesman Mark Becker said the Power District has its own gauge at the station and does not go by levels measured by the National Weather Service in Brownville. Levels at Cooper remain below the 45-foot threshold, he said. According to predictions by the NWS, the Missouri River will continue to rise and will crest at 47.5 feet. That's not expected until Tuesday morning, and so they're continuously monitoring this situation. But that's the latest on the power plant, nuclear power plant. They're still operating because their weather gauge, their water gauge says they're okay. So there's that. Next news item I have. This was sent to me courtesy of Nostradamus, or our friend Dave Alcock from the UK. This is from BBC.com from March the 14th. Grande America, that's the name of the ship. France braces for oil spill damage after ship blaze. This ship caught on fire on Sunday. Guess that was last week. French authorities are bracing for a huge oil slick to hit the country's coastline after an Italian ship capsized near La Rochelle on Tuesday. Okay, it was Tuesday. The container vessel Grande America caught fire on Sunday during a trip from Hamburg to Casablanca. All 27 crew have been rescued, but 2,200 tons of fuel has reportedly spilled into the ocean. A slick 10 kilometers or 6 miles long and 1 kilometer wide is expected to reach Brittany, northwest of France, by March 17th. 4 ships have been sent to limit the spill, and preparations are underway for a cleanup operation on land. And there's a picture of the crew. There is a risk, so we must do everything to reduce it and to reduce the impact of pollution of our coasts. Grimaldi Lines, which operates the ship, said in a statement that 365 containers had been on board, 45 of which contained hazardous materials. Among them were 10 tons of hydrochloric acid and 70 tons of sulfuric acid. And they said that any damage was expected to be very localized and would not have serious consequences for the environment since most of the materials had already burned. Yeah, right. You believe that? So there's the oil slick, just northwest of France. And then Christian Boucher, director of the Center of Ocean Studies at the Catholic Institute of Paris, said that its impact would still be felt. Everything that burned, the containers, the drums of hydrochloric and sulfuric acid, that doesn't disappear. It goes up in the atmosphere. And it goes around the world. The cause of the fire is unknown, but it is believed to have broken out on the car deck before spreading to a container. Local authorities have opened an investigation while French environmental campaign group Robin des Bois said it would file a criminal complaint over the spill's environmental damage. It's a car crash at the bottom of the sea representing hundreds of tons of toxic materials in an area very rich in fish, plankton, and marine animals. This week's spill is the first to affect France since 2011, when the Maltese registered cargo ship TK Bremen ran aground in Brittany, spewing 220 tons of fuel into the nearby area. So, that's a sad story. Thank you, Dave, for that. It's just all sad. And then he sent a Twitter picture of this. And the ship sank. The sinking of the ship. Sinking of the Grande America. 45 containers listed as containing hazardous materials. It's almost like an omen. Then I've got one more story. Another sad story. I just don't have any happy news. I wish I did. But I don't. Eco Watch. This is from March the 15th. Brazil moves to open indigenous lands to mining, and they're going to be stripping away more of the Amazon rainforest to do this. For many years, international and Brazilian mining companies have dreamed of getting access to the mineral wealth lying beneath indigenous lands. Get rid of this. And finally, the government of Jair Bolsonaro seems determined to give them that opportunity. On March 4th, while Brazilians were distracted by carnival celebrations, the new Minister of Mines and Energy, Admiral Bento Albuquerque, announced plans to permit mining on indigenous land. Speaking at the annual convention of the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, or PDAC, a major event in the mining world that attracts tens of thousands of attendees, the minister said that Brazil's indigenous people would be given a voice but not a veto in the matter. The opening of indigenous ancestral territories to mining, he predicted, would bring benefits to these communities and to the country. He also said that he intends to allow mining rights up to Brazil's borders, abolishing the current 150-kilometer or 93-mile wide mining buffer zone at the frontier. The minister said that current mining restrictions are outdated. The long-restricted indigenous and border areas have become centers of conflict and illegal activities that in no way contribute to sustainable development or to sovereignty and national security. The administration will shortly be holding a nationwide consultation to discuss the changes, how the changes should be made. He also said he intends to allow mining rights up to Brazil's borders. Okay, I just read that. The minister said that current mining restrictions are outdated. Okay. Why do they repeat all this? They just said all that and then they repeated it again. I'm not going to read it twice. So there's the guy in the hard hat with his walkie-talkie, ready to bulldoze down the rainforest to do the mining. So anyway, here's a map of where they're gonna be. The yellow is indigenous land. So there you go. So I'll leave the link below if people want to read this. So, you know, there's no chance in anything turning around, in anything healing or getting better, or, you know, so what if people reduce their carbon footprint? You know, this mining is just gonna pollute the atmosphere more and more and more, and rape Mother Earth and take the land away from the indigenous people, and it just makes me sick. It's, you know, I just get a pain in my heart when I think about this. This is Satan's hand. Satan's hand at work. So, there's my bad news for today. Now, I'm going to go to earthquakes, and I'm not going to clear my cookies. We're just going to go right into earthquakes. I'm going to get rid of Google Earth. Okay, what we have is USGS pulled up for all magnitudes for the last 24 hours, and we're showing 179 earthquakes worldwide. And of those, 48 of those are 2.5 magnitude and higher. We're going to start with oh, we got time for that one. I think we're okay. I think I can start anywhere I want. I'm going to start down here in Mexico, or Central America, not Mexico. There was a 4.3 off the coast of El Salvador at Intipuca today at 7:54 this morning, 110 kilometers deep. So here's Brazil. with all the Amazon rainforest down there, and it's going away, where they're gonna use the land for mining or cattle or agriculture or something, growing crap or who knows what, growing GMO crops. I don't know, just makes me upset. So we had a 4.4 in the ocean near Iquique, Chile at 11:34 last night. We had a 4.3 near Uyuni, Bolivia at 6:31 last night. That was 230 kilometers deep. Remember, we had that 6.3 in Bolivia yesterday. That was very deep. Then a 5.1 near Coquimbo, Chile at 11:06 this morning, 53 kilometers deep. Then there's one down here right on these red lines, 4.9 near Aysén, Chile at 10:54 this morning. Coming on around. I'm going to do these up here by Japan first. There was a 4.1. They're calling it near Otrada, Russia. A 4.3 at 9:54 last night, 173 kilometers deep. Then a 4.4 near Miyako, Japan at 1:01 this morning, 26 kilometers deep. 4.9 near Izu Islands, Japan, in the Izu Islands region of Japan at 10:40 last night. Then in the Philippines was a 5.4 near Tingloy at 2:58 this morning, 129 kilometers deep. It was in the ocean, right next to that little tiny island there. Moving on down, 5.0 near Kota Ternate, Indonesia at 12:06 this morning, 39 kilometers deep. 5.3 near Laiwui, Indonesia at 12:30 this morning, 30 kilometers deep. Here's a 4.5 on land near Kasigunku, Indonesia at 8:46 this morning. Then a 4.2 near Samlaki, Indonesia at 10:23 this morning, 161 kilometers deep. 4.8 near Samlaki at 7:58 this morning, 112 kilometers deep. Coming on around, here was one on land in Sumatra, a 5.1 near Kurup, Indonesia at 3:29 this afternoon, 91 kilometers deep. I already looked, there's no tsunami warning on that. This one just happened, or just came in. It's a 4.4 near Sinabang, Indonesia at 5:05 p.m. These are all Pacific time, because that's my time zone. Next, a 4.1 near Mohian, India. That's the reporting station, but it's really just north of Sumatra there at last night at 9:13 p.m., 205 kilometers deep. So that was a deep one that will make plates move. Next is a 5.0 near Mach, Pakistan at 11 o'clock last night. Next was a 4.6 in the Mediterranean Sea near Makri, Greece at 1:50 this morning, 22 kilometers deep. Okay, I think we've covered all of the international ones. Next, I want to go to Hawaii. We've got 5 on the map today. We've got a 2.1, 1.9, 1.8, 2.1, and 1.9. So fewer there today, but they're still doing stuff. They're still showing activity. Then in the Dominican Republic, there were 11 here today. I'll call them off a 1.7, 3.0, 1.6, 1.7, 1.6, 1.3, 2.5, 2.6, 2.1, 2.1, and 2.9. So those are small, not big enough to do a lot of or any damage, but big enough to show movement still. Now let's move on up into the Alaska region. We're showing 45 earthquakes on the map today. And Alaska averages between 50 and 100 earthquakes every day. So let's look at this one that just happened, a 4.2 near Atka, Alaska at 5:18 today, right there on that red line. A 3.8 near Amukta Island at 7:41 this morning, 41 kilometers deep. 2.8 near False Pass at 7:17 this morning, 22 kilometers deep. 2.7 near Sandpoint at 5:54 this morning, 14 kilometers deep. So just to bring things into focus, that volcano that was erupting is right about here, and so that volcanic ash and plume is moving across the Pacific here, moving across and spreading out. Here's a 3.1 in near Cape Yakataga that happened today at 3:40 this afternoon. Here's a 2.5 near Haines at 11:35 this morning. Next, down here in the down here, I think I showed this one. Yeah, Sandpoint. So in this Cook Inlet, this is getting pretty crowded here. Here's a 2.2, 2.0, 2.1. Look at all these. Normally there's, maybe 3 or 4. 2.8, 2.1. This is near Redoubt Volcano. Remember we saw that sulfur dioxide coming out over here too. 2.6 near Redoubt. That was 157 kilometers deep. 1.8 near Redoubt. 1.6 near Redoubt. 1.6 near Redoubt. I wonder if Redoubt's going to blow. Here's another 1.6 near Redoubt. 2.2 near Anchor Point. 2.3 near Redoubt. 2.3 near Coho. 2.5 near Redoubt. I don't know. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot in that readout region. 2.0 near Anchorage. There's a 2.5 near Anchorage. 2.2 near Valdez. 2.2 near Whittier. And look how quiet Anchorage is. Just a handful here today. Normally we'd see at least 20 here, but there's hardly any. This one is new. 1.9 near Talkeetna. 1.8 near Talkeetna. 1.6. 1.9 near Deltona. 1.9 near Cantwell. Here's a couple more. 1.7 near Badger. 1.0 near Esther. Now look at Kobuk. We've had a clustering up here in the last week or two. I'll call them off. 1.6, 3.2, 2.6, 4.0, that's the big one. That's getting on up there. That happened at 3:56 this morning. 1.8, 1.2. This was at 0 kilometers deep. 3.4 at 0 kilometers deep. 2.0 and a 3.2 at 0.1 kilometers deep. That was the last one. Came in at 12:57 this afternoon. So with that 0 kilometers depth, I'm just thinking there's got to be some magma moving up and causing those earthquakes up by the surface. Here's a 1.7 near Koktovik and a 2.9 near Koktovik. So that's Alaska. Now let's move on down to the lower 48. There was a 2.3 near Boscawen, New Hampshire last night at 6:23 p.m. Moving on across. Here was an earthquake in East Texas, a 2.2 near Gladewater at 7:47 last night. We can see that's east of Dallas, directly east of Dallas. Then in Utah we have a 3.0 at Farron, near Farron. Remember we had that cluster there in the last few days. So that was at 10:28 last night. So that's all for Utah. Yellowstone's quiet. Look at this. Can you believe this? Nothing. Nothing at Yellowstone. Nothing in the North Pacific. Nothing in Oregon. Can you believe this? It's a Saturday. Are they all taking off? Or the earthquake makers? They've all gone home, I guess. Look at Nevada. Like 4, maybe, not even. Here's one. This is actually in California, but they're calling it near Cold Springs, Nevada. It's a 2.9 that happened at 7:54 this morning at a minus 1.8 kilometers depth. So we know what that means. We've talked about that. Then coming on down, we've got a couple at Goldfield. We've got some small ones at Beatty. We've got 1.1 and a 1.2 at Goldfield. Then some under ones at Beatty. And that's it. That's it. That's flipping me out. There's something wrong. Either I've never seen it this quiet. I just never ever have since I've started reporting earthquakes. 1.1 near Bridgeport, California. 0.8 near Mammoth Lakes. And here's 2.8 at a minus 0.9 kilometers depth. This is at Mammoth Lakes, Tom's Place, and a 1.6 right next to it at a minus 0.8 kilometers depth. You know what that means. That magma's moving up into that volcano, the old volcano. 1.4 Coso Junction, 1.9 Coso Junction. 0.7 near Inyokern. We've got three at Bodfish. We've got a 0.9, a 1.0, and a 2.4. Moving on into Southern California, we have 37 on the map today. Here's one in the ocean. 2.4 near Hermosa Beach at 1:25 this afternoon. Here's a 1.3 near Panorama City. Let's see, get some bigger ones. Here's a pair, a 2.5 and 1.0 near Loma Linda. Get some of the bigger ones. Here's a 2.9 near Borrega Springs at 9:06 this morning. And a 2.3 near Ocotillo Wells at 1:09 this afternoon. Here's one in the Salton Sea. Sorry, I hit the microphone. 1.2. 0.9 at Yucca Valley. And 1.7 at Yucca Valley. 1.2 near Cabazon. And another 1.2. So more pairs. We're seeing lots of pairs. Oh, look at, okay, this is Korea. Look at that. Only 5 there today. One's and under. So, let's come on up. I saw the ones at Bodfish. Did we see this one? Round Valley. Yeah, we just saw that. Okay. Oh, look at all of these on the San Andreas fault line. That's... Anyway. 1.0 Parkfield. 1.4 Coalinga. 2.1 New Idria. 1.6 Pinnacles. 2.8 Pinnacles. 1.6 Livermore. 2.5 Colima. Looks like this is just off the coast. It's in the ocean. That one came in at 6:29 last night. .7 St. Helena. Oh my gosh. 30 at the geysers today. 30. Look at all those. There's a 2.8. That's one of the bigger ones. Most of them are under 1 or 1 in the 1's range. So you got 30 at the geysers. Here's a 2.7 near Navarro Head at 3:20 this afternoon at a minus 0.5 kilometers depth. What's this? Here's one right in the middle of a river. 1.8 near Willows at 4:10 this afternoon. Here's Chico. Here's Oroville. So this is not that far from Oroville. So it's directly to the west of Oroville. Wonder what river that is. Hartley Island. There's Butte City down there. Anyway, so what was that? I forgot. That was a 1.8. And that's a wrap. I think that's a wrap. So let's zoom out and see if anything major. Oh, yep, something major has happened. Right down here in Tonga, right on the red line. 5.2 near Pangai, Tonga at 5:43 p.m. Just came in. See what's happened in Hawaii. This one's new. 1.7 at 5:58. This is... There's Kilauea, so it's on the edge of Kilauea. Or at the bottom of it. So that makes 6 for Hawaii for today. We saw this one, 4.2 near Atka. Well, looks like Christmas tree lights. Oh, here's another one. Here's a new one. Down here in South America, this one just came in. 4.9 near Colchani, Bolivia at 5:53 this afternoon, 123 kilometers deep. So now we got 3 in a row right there, all lined up. And remember we had that 6.3 here yesterday, so things are happening. I mean, it's active. Things are definitely happening. So, as I like to remind everyone at the end of each of my shows, time is very short. I do believe we are in the end times. We're really in no man's land, and the weather is going to become more and more unpredictable. We can't go by past patterns and past records and things like that. I mean, it's going to be off the charts as we get into spring and summer in the northern hemisphere. So, you know, I just don't know how much longer we have, but I just praying for everybody. So I recommend everyone get right with God and Jesus. Get your spiritual houses in order. Get your priorities straight. And until next time, I love you guys. God bless you. Go in peace, and goodbye.